Just a minute, Duke. Representative Frederick.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Duke, I have a couple of things. I have one thing that I'm sort of looking at on a larger scale, so that I may come up with these questions for a while, so you shouldn't be surprised by them. I understand what you are talking about in terms of the advantages of some of these ideas. There are some disadvantages that I'm getting from my community right now. There's a concern about, within my community, there are folks who would like to have their young children in the neighborhood schools, are not interested in having a hub that they take them to. So there's the disadvantage of that disconnect between their neighborhood schools and a hub is something that they're looking at. I'm curious about the disadvantages, and if you can, as you're looking at these things, and we look at advantages that might be taking place, not only tell me what might be a disadvantage and how we're dealing with that particular disadvantage. That would be helpful. Your comment earlier about the fact that you're asking local groups to decide how to deal with this rather than having some edict from above. Helps a bit, but that's the kind of thing that I'm concerned about, if you wouldn't mind.
Co-Chair Kopp, Representative Frederick, I'll address the potential downside that you mentioned, and then the potential downsides that I think of or others have raised, or that and some of the upsides. And in terms of a hub, I think it's important that we understand this is not going to be a physical location or a new piece of infrastructure plopped on existing infrastructure. This is about having services organized around schools in partnership with schools and with the CCO and with early childhood educators, and importantly with the providers who are not in a structured setting. So most kids in Oregon who are in a child care setting are in so-called friends, family, and neighbor care. And so one example that I would give you of a potential upside is Head Start in particular is really, really good at parent engagement. And there's a lot of advantage to having other care providers learn from Head Start about how to engage parents in the child's future. That's the kind of focus that we want to have around getting prepared for kindergarten. I think I don't intend to minimize the downsides, but I would say partly it would be hard for us to do much worse because we've not been organized in any way. So funding changes could make things worse. That's certainly true. If there are fewer slots, if children have less care, that's it. I think the biggest downside potentially is that if we slow down too much or we are too risk averse, that there are communities that are taking this challenge right now and ready to run with it, and there are communities that are kind of sitting and waiting, and we don't want to reward sitting and waiting because that just becomes more inertia. I feel like inertia is the most likely downside, that we sort of steer away from doing too much and kind of let things sit.
Let me, if I may.
Please.
I understand that concern, but for the community in particular that I'm talking about is the Jefferson High School cluster area. For many of them, it's not the inertia. The fact is change has been a constant. The disruption has been a constant. They would like to find something that's going to be stable for a change, and they are not. So as it relates to the early childhood, not cluster, but center of some form. They are concerned about that there has been a plan they closed one school and that school might become a particular cluster, a particular center that the kids from throughout the area might be sent to. That's something that I'm hearing parents say they don't want to see happen. So the change for some folks, inertia has been doing nothing. For in my community, it's every 6 months a change, and it's been for the sake of change rather than for the sake of doing something that's really working for kids. So keep that in mind as you're talking about this. This is one of the issues that I'm dealing with.
Chair Kopp, Representative Frederick, that's a very good point. This is not intended to be change for change's sake.